And we are live. Welcome, welcome. Hello, everyone. Yeah, it's me again. But you've got the lovely Ellen Evert Hopman today. I'm just going to sit and ask questions.
Well, I had a word with the elementals because we were supposed to have thunderstorms all day. And then they said thunderstorms this morning. And so I went outside and I talked to the elementals and I said, clear and dry, beloveds, clear and dry. And now the storms are holding off until 4 my time, which is 2 hours from now, which is perfect.
Oh, plenty of time.
But yeah, people should feel free to ask questions at any point, and Rachel will read the questions, right?
Yeah.
And Rachel, you'll tell me when I have 10 minutes and 5 minutes?
I will. Stop talking.
Okay, because I can go for hours.
It just shows you're passionate about your subject.
Yes, well, I guess I am. It's only been over 30 years now. But I just want to say I'm a Druid, okay, from Tribe of the Oak, tribeoftheoak.com, if anybody's interested, Celtic Reconstructionist Druidism. And for those of us who are Druids, we're very interested in the past, and there's a lot more information than people realize. There's so much. In fact, I have another book coming out probably next year about the ancient sources. But for Moon Books, I have this book, A Legacy of Druids, which covers all the different kinds of modern Druids. So it's interviews with the founders and the leaders of the Druid groups all over England, some in Canada, some in the US. And I just sat down with them with a microphone and asked them why they started their groups and what their groups are all about and what they believe. And so this is modern Druidism, okay? But for those of you who are Druids out there, we look to the ancient Irish material, we look to the Welsh material, we look to the writings of Julius Caesar and Pliny and all that stuff. I mean, that's what turns us on. We like the old stuff. And then the source, we ask ourselves, okay, where did this come from? What's the source of all this stuff? I mean, we're still Druids 2,000 years later, but where did it come from? So it turns out that the source of the Celtic religion, the ancient Celtic religion, is the same as Hinduism. They both come from the same source. So I was a co-founder of the Order of White Oak originally, and we studied the Rig Veda, we studied the Upanishads. The Ashtavakra Gita is my favorite ancient writing, bar none. And for people who are studying towards initiation, that's one of the texts that they study. It's just the most profound Vedic text about how to think, how to live. The Ashtavakra Gita. If you're not going to read anything else, I recommend that. But the Rig Veda is one of the oldest texts in the world. It was, of course, originally oral, and then it was written down. But the reason that it's so valuable for modern Druids is because it has hymns to horses, hymns to the sun, hymns to water, hymns to fire, hymns to trees, hymns to cows, whatever. So, I mean, I always write material for rituals. Like I was just asked to write something. A friend of mine recently passed over to the other world, and I had to write something, So if you're a person who composes Druidic ritual, it's a really good idea to look at the Rig Veda. And Rig, the Celtic word Rig is Samos, Rig means king in Celtic. And the Rig Veda is the kingly Veda or the high Veda.
Okay.
Yeah, and Gita means song. So the Ashtavakra Gita is a song that was sung by the Vedic sages. And I'm pretty sure the Druids did the same thing. Of course, they didn't write anything down, which makes life. But anyway, so I just want to, we only have 45 minutes, right?
Yeah.
That's all we have. So
Yep.
this is a huge topic. So the only thing, all I want to do is just give you little hints about the parallels between the Celtic and the Vedic religion, so that you can go home and dive deeper, if you want. But cultural parallels first. And this is old news for some of you and probably new for some of you. But in Hindu Vedic tradition, you have the Brahmins, who are the sacred class, right? It's a hereditary sacred class. Among the Celts, you have the Druids, who are the hereditary sacred class. It's called Nemed, which means sacred. Then in Hinduism or Vedic tradition, you have the Kshatriya, who are the warriors. And in the Celtic tradition, you have warriors. Okay. Then you have farmers and producers in the Hindu tradition. And then you have farmers and producers in the Celtic tradition. Now, Dumazil said there were only 3 functions. I don't buy it. There are 4. Okay, because in the Hindu tradition, they have the Sudra, who are the untouchables, right? In the Celtic tradition, you have the slaves. Excuse me. And in both ancient Hindu tradition, I forgot to get a glass of water. This is terrible. But in ancient Hindu tradition and also in Celtic tradition, the caste system was fluid. It wasn't fixed. So you could move up or down the social ladder. And in India, that changed when the Muslim invasions happened.
Right.
And the culture became solidified. The Celtic religion was creamed by the Romans. So we never really had a chance to develop to the 9th century. Excuse me, I'm going to cough again. Bad Druid. I need water. Okay. So another similarity, and Rachel, if you would be so kind, if you could put up the slide of the deity. There we go. I hope everybody can see that. So another similarity between Hinduism and Celtic tradition is the idea of triple deities. What you see there are the Matroni, the triple mothers, and then you have the triple Lu. Lu was born of triplets. The high gods tend to be triple. They're just about all triple. So in Hinduism, you have Brahma, Shiva, Vishnu, and that tells you that you're dealing with high gods. That's the creator, the maintainer, and the destroyer. But they're seen as sort of together. Brahma is one, Vishnu is one, Shiva is one, but the 3 work together, and that tells you you're dealing with high gods. You also have the Tri Devi, Saraswati, Lakshmi, and Parvati. That's 3 goddesses. But whenever you see that number 3, that tells you you're dealing with the high deities. So in the Celtic tradition, we have, for example, Bridget or Vrija, who is a triple goddess. And that tells you you're immediately dealing with a high deity. She's goddess of healing, smithcraft, and poetry. Okay. And then again, Lu, who was born of triplets, and both Bridget and Lu are fiery deities. Lu is not a sun deity. That is a misconception. But they're both, the reason they're fiery is because they are brilliant. So it has to do with intelligence and skill. And that was something that the Celts really admired, both in men and women. There's no passive moon goddess. There's no Mary type, obedient figure. There's nothing like that. The idea is to be as smart as you can possibly be, to be active, to be creative, to be brilliant. That was the goal. The Morrigan is another triple goddess. 3 ravens or 3 crows. And she's the energy of the warriors. She gives her energy to the warriors, and she predicts when they're going to die. And that's because when the warriors died on the battlefield, the first thing that happened is flocks of crows and ravens would show up to peck out their eyes. And they would say, oh, that's the Morrigan. She's here. The triple goddess of Eire, or Ireland, Banva, Fogla, and Eriu, and I hope I said that right. But anyway,
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I speak a smattering of Irish, but I don't really, especially when it comes to Old Irish. That's terrible. But anyway, so what you have here is the Matronae. You see that? That's the triple mothers. And the triple mothers were worshipped all over the Celtic world. So that would be Gaul and, as well as the insular areas, Britain, Ireland. So we're talking about Austria, Switzerland, France, Germany. Anyway, so again, the number 3, you're dealing with a very important triple goddess. The triple mothers are in charge of plants, food, and healthy children. So if you want to grow plants, grow food, eat food, or have healthy children, that's who you appeal to. Okay, so another parallel. In Hinduism, there are sacred cows. As you know, the Celts like to eat cows. They like to raid cows, but the cows were also sacred. And cows are lunar animals because they contain a liquid. It's called milk or soma. It's a sacred liquid. So for the Celts, they would drive the cows at Beltane between 2 fires as a ritual act of purification. And what that was doing was it was bringing fire and water together. And if you go into a Hindu temple, you'll find a fire, you'll find a well. Okay. For a Druid ritual, a real Druid ritual, a Celtic Druid ritual, you got to have a fire, you got to have a well, or, it could be a lake, it could be a stream, it could be the ocean, but you have to have water and you have to have fire. And then the third thing you have, if you're a Druid, you have either a tree or you have a branch, which is a tree substitute. If you go into a Hindu temple, you're going to see a pole. So you have fire, water, pole, fire, water, tree.
Right.
Okay. But I believe that probably in ancient times, in the Vedic times, it was fire, water, tree. But, as modern times went on, now you have a pole.
Right.
Okay. And then horses. Okay. So if you read the Rig Veda, horses are all about fire in the Vedic tradition. And in the Celtic tradition, at Lunasa, which is our next big festival coming up. By the way, the modern pagans like to celebrate May 1st, August 1st, October 31st to November 1st, and February 1st. Those are all Roman dates. I hate to tell you. Those dates didn't happen until the Roman period. So I'm not too thrilled with those. For the ancient Celts, if you look at the Kalini Calendar, or the Kalini Calendar, the calendar is lunar. So those dates, the Beltane was at the full moon of the 5th month, for example. Samhain is at the dark of the moon, which is why it's a very scary time.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, you're supposed to be inside. You're not supposed to go out because there's no moon. You're going to trip and fall and some nasty thing is going to grab you, But it's in my book that I have coming out in about a year or so. I go into the lunar calendar and how to calculate the dates. But anyway, so the next festival, most pagans are going to be celebrating around the weekend of August 1st, 2nd, 3rd, like that. In ancient times, you took your horses, which are creatures of fire, and you drove them through water. That was the traditional thing to do. So they would ford a river or go through a pond, but again, it's because you had to bring fire and water together. So that's just another parallel. Okay, you can show the next slide with the...
Okay.
Okay, so between 2500 BCE and 1500 BCE, there was a culture called Harappa, or the Harappan culture, in the Indus River Valley in northwest India and Kashmir. The major cities of that culture were Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. This was a very advanced culture. They probably spoke Dravidian, which was the language of the indigenous people in India before Hinduism came in. They went through massive changes because due to climate change, the rains failed, and this culture had a sacred river. It was called the Saraswati. The Saraswati was to them what the Ganges is now, right? It was the sacred mother river goddess for the area. That river dried up. So by 2000 BCE, the river had completely disappeared. So what happened? The Harappans start to disperse. Some went south, they went down into India. Others went northeast into China and Tibet, and others migrated into Europe. This is where the Gundestrup cauldron kind of gets interesting. And a lot of you know this Cernunnos figure from the Gundestrup cauldron. So it was found in a Danish bog in 1891. It appears to have been made in the 1st or 2nd century BCE. And what you're looking at here is a horned deity. People like to say it's Cernunnos, but I don't think we really know. But we know it's Celtic because he's wearing a torque, a neck ring, which in Celtic tradition means noble status. He's also holding up a torque with his hand, and he's holding a snake with a torque around its neck. So this figure very closely resembles the Mohenjo-daro figure, which is on the other side. If you look at the Mohenjo-daro figure, you can see it's surrounded by animals. That's Shiva, by the way. Notice he has horns. He's sitting in the lotus position, or half lotus. Cernunnos, for lack of a better word, also has horns. And he's sitting in a half lotus position, and he's surrounded by animals. Shiva is called Shiva Pasupati, or Lord of the Animals. The Shiva seal that you're looking at is 2350 to 2000 BCE. Hindu depictions of Shiva often show him meditating with a serpent wrapped around his neck, and that implies fearlessness. Our Cernunnos figure is grasping a serpent not around his neck, but he's holding it, and that shows that he's fearless. Okay, so I think I'm going to take a pause right here. Do we have any questions?
Not at the moment, but I can't believe how similar those two images are. It is really striking, isn't it? How many, it is quite astounding how similar those two images are from different countries completely. It's amazing.
Well, you know, one of the mistakes people make is they like to equate cultures with race. They like to say, oh, I have Celtic blood. There's no such thing as Celtic blood.
No.
It's nonsense. But I mean, the people tended to stay put. You know, they've done surveys in England, for example. The same people have been there for thousands of years, right? So the cultures change, but the people stay the same. But what does happen is merchants and artisans and craftspeople move around. Okay. So if you're looking at Celt Iberia, which some people think is the origin of Celtic culture, but I don't know. It's a big question. But they were going up and down the Atlantic seaboard, trading and bringing crafts. Okay. Then you have the Gaulish Celts, and that's France and Germany area. They they were trading with Europe, but along the Danube. That was their main route. Okay, where am I thinking? Then you have Marseille also in Gaul. You have Marseille, which Marsalia, and they're trading with the Mediterranean area. But anyway, so it's the culture evolved because of these trade routes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. So if you have merchants going from area to area, communicating with people, they bring language. And they bring new goods and new ideas and new products. So it's hard to say whether the culture began, in the Hallstatt area in Austria, or whether it began in Spain, in Iberia, or whether it began in Gaul. That's the new theory now is Gaul, but it kind of all developed, it rose, in those three areas, and primarily because of the trade.
Yeah.
So you're either trading from the Danube, or you're trading along the Mediterranean, or you're trading up and down the Atlantic seaboard. Anyway, so no questions, no complaints.
No, we're all right at the moment.
Nobody's mad at me yet?
Nobody's run away screaming. You're all right.
Okay, so how much time do we have left?
We've had 20 minutes, so 25 minutes more.
All right.
No, ish.
So another parallel.
Are you finished with the images? Shall I?
Yeah, I guess we're done.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned, the Hallstatt Celtic area evolved because of the Danube River, and of course the salt trade, Salzburg and called Salzburg, salt mountain or salt place, salt town. But why is it called the Danube? Okay.
I'm hoping you're going to tell us.
So the Danube River is a sacred mother river goddess around which the Eastern European Celtic cultures evolved. And the root of the name Danube is Danu.
Danu.
Who is the mother of the tribe of Danu. She's the leader of the tribe of Danu. And the same goddess gave her name to the Don River, the Dnieper, which is in Ukraine. The Don is in Russia. Danu is also an early Hindu goddess, and she's the goddess of the primeval waters.
Okay.
And in the Rig Veda, she's called the mother of the Danavas, or the mother of the children of Danu, which is very similar to the Tuatha De Danann, which is the tribe of Danu.
Yeah.
So the children of Danu in Celtic mythology are the tribe, the gods and goddesses, and they're all under Danu, who's the great goddess. So that's another interesting parallel. And another one is Celtic culture had a practice of fasting against. And this was an ancient practice where a person who had greater power or influence could be shamed into doing what you wanted. So if you thought that they were unjust or they acted against you, you could fast against them. And this would shame them into providing restitution for a wrong that they had done to you. In Hindu tradition, there's a ritual called sitting dharna, which involves a fast undertaken at the door of a powerful or a more powerful offender to obtain justice or payment of a debt. It's the exact same ritual.
Yeah.
Okay. So another parallel is the belief in reincarnation. And We have some quotes from the Romans. Pomponius Mela, who was a Roman geographer writing in around the year 43 CE, reported that the Druids taught reincarnation to strengthen the courage of the warriors. And this is a direct quote from him. One of their dogmas has become widely known, so they may the more readily go to war, namely that souls are everlasting and that among the shades is another life. Okay, so they're teaching the warriors, don't worry if you die in battle, not a big deal.
It's a good plan. It's a good plan.
Well, the Celts believed in reincarnation so strongly that they could actually settle their debts by saying, I can't pay you in this world, but I'll pay you in the next life. And they go, okay, fine. They shake on it.
Try that one. See how well I get on.
No, but that was valid. You could actually contract. And who knows? I mean, that's karma, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so a Roman historian called Ammianus Marcellinus, he was a Roman soldier and historian, wrote, quote, the Druids declare the souls to be immortal. So the body comes and goes, but the soul remains. Somebody has to write a song about that. A Greek historian, Diodorus Siculus, declares, quote, the Pythagorean doctrine prevails among them, teaching that the souls of men are immortal and live again for a fixed number of years, inhabited in another body.
Okay.
Now, what's interesting about Pythagoras is we know that he hung out with a druid and named Abaris. What we don't know is, did Abaris teach Pythagoras or did Pythagoras teach Abaris?
Oh, okay.
Okay, another one, Marcus Annaeus Lucanus, also called Lucan in English, was a Roman poet. And he said, he was quoting the Druids thusly. He says, quote, you tell us that the same spirit has a body again elsewhere, and that death, if what you sing is true, is but the midpoint of a long life. And I love that one.
Yeah.
Death is but the midpoint in a long life.
That's good.
Okay, so I'm just giving you little tidbits, little foods for thought.
Yeah.
You know? Okay. In the Book of Invasions, which is an Irish pseudo-history, it's kind of made up, but it's a compilation of oral lore, so stories and traditions that was finally written down. We have the Song of Amergin, or Amergin White Knee. But I'm just going to read a little bit from that and then give you a parallel, a Hindu parallel. Okay. He says, I am the wind that blows across the sea. I am the wave of the ocean. I am the murmur of the billows. I am the bull of 7 combats. I am the vulture on the rock. I am a ray of the sun. I am the fairest of flowers. I am a wild boar in valor. I am a salmon in the pool. I am a lake on the plain. I am the skill of the craftsman. I am a word of science. I am the spear point that gives battle. I am the God who creates in the head of man the fire of thoughts. Okay, so it's describing God.
Yeah.
The creator. Okay. And so it's very pantheistic, animistic. You know, God is everywhere. God is in all things. Creation, spirituality. Makes perfect sense to me. I mean,
absolutely.
Look at anything. Look at a bug. Look at a tree. Look at a rabbit. Look at a rock. It's all God, you know. Okay, so here's what the Bhagavad Gita says, this is Krishna singing, I am the self established in the heart of all contingent beings. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all contingent beings too. Among luminous bodies, I am the sun. Among heavenly mansions, I am the moon. And Meru among the high aspiring mountains. Of floods, I am the ocean. And Mount Meru is the great mountain at the center of the world. Okay, so actually that was really that was all I was going to give you, because I was expecting some questions. No questions from anybody?
You have captivated everyone, I think. We're all a bit shocked, I think, that of all those similarities.
Yeah, well, that's just touching, vaguely touching. But okay, I'm just going to cover the books then one more time. So this one, A Legacy of Druids. If you're interested in modern Druids, and these are conversations with Druid leaders, past, present. Some of them are now deceased, which makes it even more interesting. But Olivia Robertson is in here, and lots of other folks. And Philip Carr-Gomm wrote the foreword. So it really gives you a taste of all the different flavors of Druid that are out there. And then I just want to give a quick mention, A Druid's Herbal of Sacred Tree Medicine. If you're interested in working with trees medicinally, and the Om alphabet. So this book goes letter by letter through the Om alphabet, and then gives you the medicinal properties, the spiritual and poetic meanings. And this is not modern made up Druid anything. This is all footnoted old stuff. Okay, so A Druid's Herbal of Sacred Tree Medicine. And then for people who want fiction rather than nonfiction, I just want to mention quickly, I have a trilogy of novels. They're all based on, I've been a Druid since 1984. So I've done a lot of reading and a lot of study. So these are fiction, but the Druid path is really encoded in these books. And the first one is called Priestess of the Forest. The second one is The Druid Isle. And the third one is Priestess of the Fire Temple. And they all have strong female protagonists. The main characters are female Druids, and they start in the 2nd century, they end in the 5th century, and they go from Ireland to Scotland back to Ireland. And the second book, The Druid Isle, is based on Iona, the island of Iona,
right,
which was called Inis nan Druidniach, or the Isle of Druids. That was the original, one of the old names.
You've actually got a couple of questions now.
Oh,
now I think everybody's processing. We're all in a bit of shock, I think. That's such a revelation.
Okay, questions. Yay.
So did Celtic influence Vedic or vice versa?
The Proto-Vedic culture became the Vedic culture, and that it depended on where they went. If they went west, it turned into Celtic religion. If they went east and south, it turned into Hinduism, because India was a tree worshipping matrifocal or matriarchal culture, the Dravidians. And then when the Vedic culture went into India, that changed and it became Hinduism. Yeah. So if you really want to get to the root of it, you have to look at the Proto-Vedic culture and Proto-Vedic language, which has been kind of put together. There's some fascinating tree words, things like that. And if you know any Irish at all, or Scots Gaelic, or you look at it and you go, my God, it's like you can find it in there. Yeah.
I think you may have answered the second question, but they went on to say, if they came from the same source, what is that source?
proto-Vedic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another one up here, which is, I thought the Celts came from the Black Sea.
Okay, there are currently 3 theories now. When you say the Celts, it doesn't mean a people, it means a culture. So where did the culture come from? Because the people didn't go anywhere. The same people have been there since the Ice Age, right? There wasn't that much movement of people, and we know that from the genetic studies, you know. So that there are 3 theories. One theory is that the culture developed along the Danube basin, from the Black Sea area along the Danube basin, goes to Austria, goes to Switzerland, and the language develops there and the distinctive artistic style and all that. That's one theory. The second theory is Celtic from the West, which is it started in Iberia along the Atlantic seaboard. And you kind of have to turn the map sideways because people were traveling up and down from Spain all the way up to Shetland. That was a trade route. So languages and crafts and skills and artistic styles were being shared up and down the Atlantic seaboard. And Barry Cunliffe claims that the inscriptions found in Iberia, in Spain, or Portugal and Spain, are actually older than anything found in the Hallstatt. But they seem to be roughly the same age, as far as I can tell, but we don't really know. And then the third theory is that Gaul, which is in the middle, so you have Celtic from the east, which is Austria, you have Celtic from the west, which is Spain, or you have Celtic from the center, which is Gaul, because Gaul was trading with the whole Mediterranean area.
Right.
So in order for a culture to develop, you have to have wealth, because you have to have enough extra money so that you can buy art and commission art, and have learned people who weren't just worrying about survival, enough extra wealth so that you have educated people and philosophers and poets and storytellers, and the culture flourishes. But it seems likely that it all emerged in all 3 areas, because each of those areas had its own, well, especially it started in the east and the west first, it seems like, and then gradually went into the center. But this is all a matter of discussion right now.
Yeah, well, even the archaeologists and the historians can't make a decision,
it's all
can
being
they?
debated. And if you're really interested, I actually have a group on Facebook called Celtic and Ancient History, Archaeology, and Art. And we have over 7,000 members on there, I think, now. It increases every day. And that's the kind of thing that we discuss. And people bring in evidence, and we were just discussing that last week.
That's dog adding his voice to it all.
Okay.
I think it is interesting because I'd always sort of thought there must be, each culture just has different representatives of gods. They're all from the duplicates of each other, kind of thing. But someone's put down, Christina's put, this is mind blowing. And it is, because you have absolutely proved what I've been thinking of the whole time I've been a pagan, which is about 30 years. To actually have information presented as you've done today, which shows the similarities, and it is mind-blowing. Absolutely. Thank you for that. I am blown away.
The Order of White Oak was founded officially in 1997, although we started talking in 1996. That morphed into Tribe of the Oak. It's now Tribe of the Oak, tribeoftheoak.com. But back in the 90s, this is what we were discussing. We read the Rig Veda one paragraph at a time.
Okay.
And so I typed it out myself.
That was a job and a half.
Well, every day I would post one stanza from the Rig Veda, and we would talk about it, and we would compare it to Celtic religion, and that we talked about that for 10 years.
Yeah, I think you have literally stunned everyone into silence pretty much.
Oh dear.
We've all got this processing through our heads now. There's Audrey says absorbing, fascinating. And Sue says, yeah, Sue's one of my friends. We've often talked about similarities between Kali Ma and the Kalach, with the blue skin and the death and rebirth. And there are so many similarities between deities of different cultures that there had to be a connection. And yeah, it's.
Well, I really look at it as the same religion. It's kind of like Christianity. You can have Roman Catholics and you can have Lutherans, and they're the same religion, right?
Yeah.
So I look at it, but it's the ancient Celtic religion. So I see the ancient Celtic religion and Hinduism as being the same, two ends of the same religion.
Yeah. I've definitely got to delve into that more. I have got all the Vedas and things. I bought it ages and ages ago. Never read it. I'm going to have to read it now. You said the word and I can't say it. The the one you said you typed out all the different.
Oh, the Rig Veda.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm no good at pronouncing it. I bought that years ago, sitting on the bookshelf. I'm going to have to read it.
Anybody who calls himself a Druid needs to read the Rig Veda.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. You have been asked, is your next book on this topic?
Yes, but not with moon books. I didn't want to talk about it too much, but yeah, it's a Celtic Reconstructionist Druidism handbook, beliefs and practice. So it goes into all of this stuff and more. And it's an in-depth. It's a lot of the training that we did. There's this unfortunate thing happening now that everything's moved to Facebook. It seems like people just want to hang out on Facebook and they don't want to read anymore. Because I used to be able to, I used to initiate a lot of people and I would say, here are all the books, got to read all these books.
Yeah.
As you can tell from this talk, there's a lot of material, right?
Yeah.
So I would say, here's the books, you read the basic books. Once you've read the books, then you begin your lessons. Now people can't even read the books. They just can't. So I've been trying, I've been trying for 7 years in Tribe of the Oak to get people to read the books. And I'm having, it's like pulling teeth. So what I finally decided, because the White Oak material became the Tribe of Oak material.
Right.
I didn't want the lessons to be lost. So I collaborated with Kenneth Prufrock, who was also a member of White Oak, and Peter Quant, who's a tree expert, and they wrote essays for it, and we created a handbook. And you still can't be in it. You could do a self-initiation, I guess, but if you want to really be an initiate, you have to have a teacher.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And you could contact me, and I'd be happy to work with you. But the book is going to give you an overview of the lessons in shortened form, the lessons that we did to create initiates, which is much harder now. I don't know. So that's just what other people experience it as well. It's not just me.
I still love books. We've got lots of people supporting us, still reading books.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few of us left.
Any other questions or observations?
I think you've got lots of compliments you've made a lot of people think today, which is a good thing.
Well, you can find me on Facebook. You can send me a message. You can go to tribeoftheoak.com. You can go to elleneverthopman.com. I can be found. And if any of this grabs you and you want to go deeper and you would like to become an initiate, just let me know.
Excellent. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Ellen. As always, it's an absolute pleasure to talk to you. My mind is spinning, which is a good thing.
Thank you.
And thank you. Yes, thank you for everyone for joining us. More talks to come and more tomorrow. So thank you, Ellen. Take care.
Namaste.
Namaste.